"You're fired."
You're fired! Get out of here! Go!
It's not what happened, but the chairman of the Board of Veterans Appeals is no longer in the chair. Yes, this is a news update. Jaime Areizaga Soto, the former chairman of the Board of Veterans Appeals, resigned as of a couple days ago, and I'm recording this video in mid-January 2025. The chairman is an appointed position confirmed by the Senate. President Biden appointed him approximately 2 years ago in 2020, late 2022, I believe. He was confirmed, and he spent the last 2 years in that position. And he has resigned, as a number of appointed officials in the administration do whenever there's a change of administration. So this is not terribly uncommon, not unforeseen. Some chairs of the Board of Veterans Appeals do stay on afterwards. It just depends on the person and the position. So in any event, I wish Chairman Areizaga Soto best of luck in his future endeavors. With that said, you may want me to issue a report card on Chairman Areizaga Soto. And I can't. I just can't. Unfortunately, I don't have the information to draw on. And quite frankly, it'd be really unfair to do so anyway, because it's a large organization and change takes a lot of time in the government. But let's look at the most recent statistics available online. The board publishes quarterly reports. We're still waiting for the end of fiscal year 2024. So the last one we have available as of the time of recording this video is for the third quarter of fiscal year 2024. The volume of cases that they have at the Board of Veterans Appeals is over 200,000, 202,717 as of the last day of the third quarter of 2024. This is a lot, but it's actually less and continues the trend from the second quarter by about 4,000. So that's like a 2% drop in total backlog, which doesn't seem a lot, but when you have that many cases, that's actually pretty significant. So that's good. That's good news on the whole. Hearings year to date, which I think is really actually an interesting subject. So year to date, as of the third quarter, there were 20,776 hearings held. And scheduled. Held, though, were only 13,684. So you've got like a 70%, a little less than, right around 70% of the scheduled hearings were actually held. Now, some of them get canceled for various reasons, but I'm curious as to what causes that gap. That seems like a very large gap to schedule 20,000 or almost 21,000, but only hold a little under 14,000. And that's concerning. But that maybe is something that the new chairman can work on, is figuring out ways to bring that number, those two numbers closer together so that you're scheduling hearings and you're actually holding hearings for these cases. And there are a number of probably systems improvements across the board that could be implemented. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not totally qualified to go into the mechanics, but I know it's kind of a weird system where you just kind of get an email one day, at least if you're an attorney, saying, hey, this board hearing's been scheduled, and rescheduling it can be a total nightmare. So if you're double booked, I've had to cancel things and rearrange everything to go to a board hearing that was sort of sprung on me. So it's a little bit frustrating. So maybe if they can figure out that system, I imagine that some hearings are actually missed because of scheduling conflicts and they just kind of surprise you about the hearing. So maybe that's something that the next chairman can make a priority. Average days to complete. Now, this is another interesting statistic because these numbers have fluctuated all over the place. So the timeliness goal for an AMA case, Appeals Modernization Act case, in the direct evidence lane is 365 days, 1 year. They are nowhere near that. The average day to complete is 866. So it's more than 200% above their target date, which is not great. Likewise, their timeliness goal for the evidence lane, you'd think that'd only be 90 days more because the evidence lane is only a 90-day window at the beginning of a case. It's 550 days, and they're blowing that by almost 500 days because they're currently sitting at 1,056. And the hearing is 730 days, almost right about 2 years, but they're also blowing that goal at 1,089 days. Now, what does this tell us? Well, it's a backlog, and quite frankly, these numbers, it's not clear whether they take out of these numbers the ability to advance on the docket. So there's some questions here as to whether these numbers are truly accurate, or whether they take into account the fact that some people are advancing on the docket because of terminal illness or advanced age. Now, if you're 75 and up, you're age 75 and up, so like a lot of our Vietnam veterans, they're automatically advanced on the docket, and they're going to have a much quicker timeline than, say, somebody who is in decent health and not otherwise eligible for advancement on the docket. Big questions there. We have a number of other data points here that I think are interesting. My favorites still to this date are the total number of dispositions by issue. Now, this isn't number of cases that have been decided, but the individual issues. So like, let's say you have a veteran who appeals on just service connection for their lumbar spine. That's one issue. But if they have 10 conditions on their notice of disagreement, that's 10 issues. Now, there's some really granular data here, which I think is really interesting. The total number of issues decided fiscal year to date is 243,590. Now, that I think amounts to about 100,000 cases, give or take. So you're looking at about 2.5 issues per case on average. The grant rate is 23%. 23% of issues granted. I like to flip that on its head. That means that 77% of the VA's decisions, the issues appealed, were wrong, right? And were granted outright by the board. But then when you take into account the remand rate, the VA's grade goes down even further, right? The remand rate, which means that the Board of Veterans' Appeals found an error that it couldn't fix at the board and instead decided to send it back to the VA, was 42%. So that means that if you take the grant rate and the remand rate, you have a total of 65% of cases, of issues, the Board of Veterans' Appeals decided differently. That means, in other words, that the VA only got it right in 35% of cases, assuming you can use this data as a proxy for that. I'm not 100% sure you can, because a lot goes into this. There may have been evidence added after the fact that changed the outcome of the case. Something came up at a hearing that changed the case. So lots of things can happen here, but still, if you take a look at this, the board is fixing or trying to fix 65%, meaning the VA only got right 35% of cases. If you only got 35% of things right in school, you would have gotten an F. You would have been nowhere close to a passing grade. That is remarkable. And quite frankly, I'm hoping that Secretary Collins, the incoming Secretary of the VA, takes into strong consideration when opening up the hood at the Veterans Benefits Administration. So anyway, that's the update on the board. I'm long overdue for one. When the next annual report comes out, I hope to issue another update. But in any event, if you find this interesting, please like, subscribe, do all that stuff. If you've been denied something or underrated, please reach out to us. Maybe we can help. Until next time, take care.